This radio program is PG-13. Parents strongly caution some material may be inappropriate for children under the age of 13.
The following program is sponsored by Michael W. Smith. The views expressed on the following program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership.
Phoenix, Arizona, Brother Mike, back on the radio. Welcome to HardcoreChristianity.com. Thanks for tuning into the program today. Today's Bible study, trans suicide invades the church. Hey, will you call somebody and tell the radio program's on? I'll make some announcements when you make that call. Thanks for helping out the ministry. This is Brother Mike. I'm the professional counselor at the Arizona Deliverance Center, over 40 years. Thanks to you, by the way. Thank you for your donations. If you go to the website, you'll see all of our ministry services, HardcoreChristianity.com. We have 2 live services every week, Thursday and Friday nights at 7 o'clock. We have 2 Zoom services every week, live. Monday nights for the ladies, 6:30 p.m. Wednesday night for men and women at 6 p.m. We also have other special services at the Deliverance Center. We have children's healing services. We have women's seminars. I have a deliverance training class on the 4th Saturday of every month at noon. And I have a Sunday morning podcast on twitch.tv. Just go there, put in HCC, ADC, and you're on the program, 9 o'clock every Sunday morning. Don't forget about the PayPal button. Send us another donation so we can continue our radio ministry, now over 20 years here in Maricopa County. Trans suicide is invading the church, and it is getting so sad, but actually it's a symptom of something far greater. It's a symptom. It's symptomatology of mental illnesses sweeping the entire country. America is being slaughtered by mental illnesses. Let me give you an idea. Clubhouse International did a nationwide study of employers in the United States. Listen to this. They came up with the top 10 sources of time lost to employers in the United States in 2023. Listen to this. Very interesting. GI disorders, 3%. Cardiovascular problems, 3%. Endocrine, blood, and immune disorders and diabetes, 4%. Injuries, 6%. Respiratory diseases, 7%. Nutritional deficiencies, 7%. Infectious diseases, 8%. Neurological and organ problems, 13%. Musculoskeletal diseases and problems, 14%. Guess what was number one? Number one, loss of time at work. Did you get it? Of course you did. Mental and behavioral disorders was number one, 26%. 26% of all time loss claims at work are related to mental and, as a result, behavioral problems. These mental illnesses are sweeping into the church all over the country. I've done major reporting on how this thing is happening. I've gone over it numerous times. We've gone over this, for example, the sex scandals in Roman Catholicism, Mormonism, the Boy Scouts, Southern Baptists. We went through it several times. We've gone through strange ministers in the United States who've gotten in trouble with the law and with their parishioners. I've had numerous programs on it, illustrating what's going on. Take a look at this. It just happened last week. An Alabama pastor, the guy's name was Bubba Copeland. And I guess he was a really nice person and everybody loved him. He was the mayor of Smith Station in Alabama And he was the pastor of the First Baptist Church in Phoenix City. Some of his relatives and friends had called the police for a wellness check on the guy, and the cops showed up at his house, saw him leaving, so they started following him. And it wasn't a high-speed chase. It was just a, 30-mile-an-hour drive. They were just following him to keep their eye on him because the relatives had called and they were concerned about his mental health. While they were slowly pursuing him to make sure he was okay and they wanted to check on him, the mayor suddenly pulls over to a side street called Lee Road, gets out of the vehicle, pulls out a handgun, and commits suicide. He shot himself in the head. Well, what had happened was a news organization called 1819 News had come out with an article on this pastor and the mayor. What apparently had happened was that Bubba Copeland had started to develop a mental illness. He thought he was a female. He started to have sexual identity and gender identity issues. He was married with kids. Some photos had leaked out on him cross-dressing and wearing women's clothing in pictures with his wife in their home. And he had taken on the identity of a transgender woman when he was away from the church and the mayor's office. His new name wasn't Bubba Copeland, it was Brittany Blair Summerlin. That was his female name. And he bought a blonde wig and he was wearing his wife's clothes and so on. Well, anyway, these photos had gotten leaked and they got out into the media, and he had to have a special service at his church. And the poor guy apologized for what happened. He had a mea culpa type situation at his church where he had apologized to the members of his church for what he was doing. He tried to play it down. He said they were just fooling around and so on. And he said he was not transgender. He tried to deny the whole thing, and unfortunately it didn't go over well because the Alabama Baptist State Convention and the Alabama Baptist State Board of Missions got wind of it and started an investigation. And during this investigation process, he drove off and shot himself. And it was really sad because Bubba Copeland was apparently a really good guy. Everybody loved him. He was apparently a good pastor. There was no complaints about his work as the mayor of significance. I mean, just a really good person, serving his community, serving in the Baptist church. And his biography was even bad too. Bad meaning unfortunate. He was from Smith Station. He graduated from Smith Station High School. He got a hotel and restaurant management degree from Auburn University. You know, he served on the Lee County Board of Education for over 11 years. You know, he'd been the mayor since 2016. You know, that's a little Alabama town. There's only about 7,000 people there. But anyway, everything about this guy appeared solid. He appeared to be a good person, good pastor, good mayor, good everything. In addition, he owned the country market in Salem, Alabama. He was a small businessman. Here you go. What's happening here, my friend? It's so simple. I've gone over it. I don't know how many times on the radio program. I've been warning everyone as best I can that these mental illness demons are sweeping this country. Transgenderism was listed as a mental illness in the DSM-1, and it's now been changed. It's no longer considered a mental illness in the DSM-5. But the truth of the matter is the DSM-1 was correct. Cross-dressing, drag queen story hour, transgenderism is in fact a mental illness, and it's caused by demons. What happens is this. These spirits enter a child during periods of abuse or significant disappointment, or periods of unusual fear. These spirits enter the body. Then they slowly start to morph the child. They morph their sexuality when they go through puberty, and they develop same-sex attractions and later on become gay and homosexual. They morph the child's gender identity. They start to train the child through the mind that the child is not a boy when they were born a boy and not a girl when they were born a girl. These spirits attack the mind, and then they give the body lustful sensations that are unnatural. Romans chapter 1, Leviticus 17. These unnatural desires morph the child's sexuality and morph their gender identification. And they become gender fluid. They become sexually fluid. We call that bisexuality. They become non-binary. They become fluid. This is all caused by spirits that get into your brain. The Baptist Church, for example, has had numerous problems with sexual perversion over the years. The scandals and the lawsuits have been absolutely staggering. No one understands and no one knows that because the Baptists do not believe in deliverance, and because they do not believe in casting out unclean spirits of sexual perversion, their entire denomination is saturated with these sexual perversion demons, leading to all these scandals. And because Bubba couldn't go through deliverance because his church didn't teach it or believe in it, he had to suffer with these transgender spirits morphing his identity. And he was gradually and slowly slipping away. And his female identity given to him by demons was moving to the forefront. And it ended up in his suicide, which is their goal. Their goal is not to turn you into a trans woman or a trans man. Their goal is to eventually get you to commit suicide. If you know someone who's a born-again Christian, or you are a born-again Christian, and you are starting to become gender fluid, you are starting to drift over to the other side. You're eligible for free counseling services and deliverance services at the Arizona Deliverance Center, 602-636-5800. Don't stall this thing out, because the longer you wait, the more powerful the demons get and the more difficult it is to get them out. Please call today.
The views expressed on this program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership. This program was sponsored by Michael W. Smith.